being able to control excess production by having the ability to store and repurpose through processing to give greater certainty to farmers of making a return from their output and greater certainty to consumers in the price that they face at the market, and an expansion in output by adding greater value to the initial production. We're celebrating this now, but we could have had this 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and we could have had it earlier than now. Almost every project that I officiate at and launch, I must make this point because it has become such an important part of the Jamaican landscape and the challenge that we face as a people. Now, just Friday, I was at another event, conceived a long time, but probably started about the same time as this project, started in 2019, and that is the Bustamante Hospital. It's the facility that allows mothers to be able to stay overnight in support of their children who are being treated at the Bustamante Children's Hospital. Yes, it's a 32-bed facility. It's an amazing facility as I toured it. Project was financed by the NHT, so there is no financial issue. But yet, we were only just a few days ago able to complete and open it. Why? Why? I'm going to be told, as we have been told here and has been mentioned, well, it was impacted by the pandemic. So yes, 2019, 2020, those 2 years in particular, difficult years. It shifted timelines, disrupted supply chain, and therefore had an impact on the ability for projects to be delivered on time. Okay, so let's take 2 years off the project time. Force majeure, nothing we could do. But bear in mind that a similar project was done, financed in Belize from the same UK infrastructure fund, which was to build a coastal highway that was for 23 or 24 million pounds. This entire project was for 53 million pounds. But they completed theirs in 2023, and it started about the same time or probably a little after ours. Now, as projects go in Jamaica, there are many projects because there's just a lot of things to do in Jamaica. And we have a lot of bright people who can develop the project, write the project proposal. We're not going to have simple processes in any country today, but you can have complex processes that are not complicated. The problem with our bureaucracy is that it is complicated, meaning that things don't happen in parallel, simultaneously. They happen sequentially. So you have to do one before you can move on to the other. They're not outcome sensitive. So it doesn't matter if there was a hurricane and people had to procure telecommunications and other critical things to make sure that we can get to people who are stranded. That is not a matter for the public bureaucracy. That is of no moment, no concern. So we need the bureaucracy to be sensitive to outcomes and context. We must reform the bureaucracy. Now, the government may look like we're doing well because almost every week for the last 5 years, I am handing over something, cutting a ribbon on something, announcing something. We could be doing 10 times more. Believe me when I tell you, we could be doing 10 times more. So Kudmos Floyd was the Minister of Agriculture. Because yes, I did call him in, as I have done to several others in the cabinet, to say, listen, the pace has to increase because whatever benefit we were getting from the fiscal discipline, the dividends from good management of the finances of the country, people soon forget about that. No new taxes don't mean not to anybody again. They come to expect that. The next step now is how do we expand? How do we grow? Because the demands are not getting less. We're not going to have simple processes in any country today. But you can have complex processes that are not complicated. The problem.
All right, let's leave that there. And let's spend a little time on 20 minutes to 9 o'clock. The Auditor General recent report on the Starlink devices and the actions of Cabinet Minister Vaz. Now, you heard Mr. Vaz before on Nationwide. Now, here's the situation. Hurricane Melissa hits. Now, I don't have no problem with the Auditor General, but Mrs. Pamela Monroe, you have your job to do. Yes? That's what the Prime Minister is there talking about. You have your job to do. Mr. Vaz has his job to do. Let the minister do his job. Your mom, you can write your report. You write your report. But let's move on with what is real here. The hurricane hits. Communication networks go down. People are cut off. People are stranded. And there is urgent need for connectivity. Minister Vaz steps in, gets 200 Starlink devices from a supplier, and makes them available to help communities and first responders. Simple, write. Write what you want to write in your report. That was needed to be done. And you could have write report till the cows come home. Mr. Patterson once said the law is not a the law is not a shackle. But the Auditor General says he breached procurement rules. Breach what rules? Breach what rules? Who wrote the rules? Here is the thing, neighbors. Sometimes the law can become a shackle. And if you depend upon law, sometimes people dead. Did you know? Did you know that it is not legal for you to take your car and act as an ambulance to take people to the hospital when they're sick? Have you ever seen it in Jamaica where people put on their four-way speeding down the road? That's not right, you know. That's not. Where in the law do you find that? Where in the law do you find that any citizen can turn on them four-way, tooting their horns, and use their car as an ambulance? But what would you do if you come upon an accident scene and there's a, if you can take him to the police, to the hospital? What Miss Monroe writing about? Sometimes I wonder if these people are political operatives. We don't need no Auditor General report now, you know. Miss Monroe no find out none. Miss Monroe no have it at level 2. Yeah? Miss Monroe, you don't have nothing more for audit. Why you not go audit? Why you not go audit the PNP's anyway. Let's
The finances of the country.
You know, why not go audit the PNP Melissa fund? You cannot audit that. We'd love, we'd We'd love an audit on that, you know. Boy, do I have my thing here? Let's go with this. Miss Monroe, come on, man, get yourself together and leave the minister alone. Leave Minister Vaz alone. Let go the man. Let go the Mr. Vaz. Leave man. Go on audit the JPS and can I audit the FinSac period for us, please, Miss Monroe. Go on audit the FinSac period if you want something to do. That's been a little hard on Miss Monroe, but let me just make it clear here. So you see, is man who write law. That means they're not perfect. It wasn't written for every imaginable crisis, you know. It wasn't written to stop a hurricane from isolating whole communities. It wasn't written to make sure people can talk to rescuers when their lives are at risk. What is the minister to do? Sit down and wait for procurement laws? While people are suffering and the country is cut off from communication? What is the minister to do? We need more vases, you know. We need more vase in the cabinet that we need. If we have 10 more vases, Jamaica would have changed. Minister, no, don't listen. Leave the minister alone. Let him fix the problems. Minister no breach no procurement rule. The minister acted decisively. And I'm going to urge the Prime Minister, don't make Mr. Vaz resign. Keep him. Mr. Vaz says he's going to hang up the boots. No. Mr. Vaz is an amazing minister. He acted with urgency. So open up the airport. Mr. Vaz went over to the airport and tell them, say, listen to me. I want this airport open up. Plane of Ilania. Don't ramp with Vaz. People want light. Okay. Mr. Vaz acted to save lives, Mrs. Monroe. You can thunder with your report. And why was this report tabled? It's a distraction. It's a distraction, you know. And let me ask you, shouldn't the circumstances of a natural disaster be taken into account before we rush to condemn someone for bending rules that were never intended for emergencies? Do you understand that we had a Category 6 hurricane, Mrs. Monroe? Do you understand that people never have no service? We're talking about bureaucratic red tape versus human lives. What is more important? You know, I remember Mr. Patterson telling me about you know, when Operation Pride. Mr. Patterson said let the paperwork catch up with the thing. We're talking about bureaucracy, or we're talking about human lives. Holness himself said it. Our bureaucracy is complicated. It is slow. It is outcome blind. When people are in crisis, we can't afford to wait for forms to be signed and correct order made. That's what Vaz's response Makes perfect sense. You know that in the hospitals, if you bring somebody there that needs an operation, the doctor's not supposed to operate on them before one family member sign the paper, you know. But if the man are dead on the table, you go wait for the family member to come from a mandable to come sign the paper before you operate. You are a doctor and you go wait for permission from mandable. The patient is dying. You know, apply the patient and catch up with that later on, man. What are you talking about? If you take your relative to the hospital, doctor not supposed to operate on him, you know, without you signing a consent form. But what if you're the overseas? The hospital will go wait for you to come jump on a plane from Miami to come to Jamaica consign one consent form when the man are dead. People are dying. People are dying, Miss Monroe. No auditor report should be allowed to come out now. That can come out later on. And we're not suggesting that there should be no accountability, but not here. I'm not saying that paperwork doesn't matter. Accountability is important. But there's a spectrum here. And emergencies fall on the extreme end where the law must serve the people. Not the other way around. It's not the people serve the law. It's the law serve the people. You don't freeze action because a rule book exists. You don't do that. You act. You document as best as possible, but you ensure that people survive. This is about people's lives, Auditor General. This is about getting the country back up so you can get paid. This is about getting the economy humming again so you can keep your job. So neighbors, before you criticize Minister Vaz, we need to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of the law? Is it to punish good intentions? Or is it to guide society? In this case, I argue the Auditor General is being too dogmatic. Mrs. Monroe, you are being too dogmatic. You're applying the rules without context. A hurricane is not the time for rigidity. Minister Vaz acted correctly. He acted in the spirit of service. And the rest of us should remember, in emergencies, humanity always trumps bureaucracy. Away with bureaucracy. Save people's lives. And I would dare say that even the government need to remember that. Can't have people asleep out the door and talk about procurement. You have to get help. You have to get the help, man. Let that come afterwards. Buy the zinc and give the people them and the board. I have so much to get through tonight. I wanted that. Have a little more. Give me a few moments. And let me tell you something. In today's Jamaica, where bureaucracy and red tape often slow progress, it is refreshing to have a minister like Vaz. Big up yourself, Darrell. Big up Daryl Vaz. Can't have a better minister than Daryl Vaz. It is essential to recognize public officials who act decisively with vision. What a cabinet man. Mr. Vaz is a standout minister, you know. I would have voted for him for Prime Minister. And he has a record that demonstrates a consistent commitment to improving the lives of Jamaicans, particularly those in rural communities. You know, one could argue that Mr. Vaz was largely responsible for the Jamaica Labour Party win the last election. One of the hallmark of Mr. Vaz's tenure has been his proactive approach. You notice that Vaz no wear suit a lot? Notice. You notice how, and if I may say something personal about Mr. Vaz, many of you don't know. Vaz no broke, you know. But that's personal, but I think I would just add it in. Vaz no broke. Vaz no have to come in a politics. Vaz no have to come in a politics. Vaz is a very successful businessman. You notice that Vaz not too in a suit. He always have him sleeve roll up. He's on the go. Take, for example, his rural school bus initiative. Vaz recognized the challenges faced by students in remote communities and took tangible steps to ensure the safety. Masterstroke. Bus after bus after bus. Bus after what? I'm going to give you bus after bus. When the PNP tried to criticize it, Vaz said, all right, bus after bus after bus. Look what Vaz has done with the JUTC. Not to mention how he has challenged powerful interests when they have stood in the way of fairness for ordinary Jamaicans. His public confrontations with telecommunications companies over pricing and service reflects a minister who stands up for the people of Jamaica. Jamaica, stand up for Vaz and don't make them come with no report. Don't trouble Mr. Vaz, you hear? Leave Mr. Vaz. Leave Mr. Vaz alone. Mr. Vaz doesn't accept the status quo. And he's a very honest minister. I can tell you that. When Vaz gives you his word, you can carry that to the bank. Very, very compelling is his activism during this Melissa recovery. Critics have pointed to procedural irregularities highlighted in the Auditor General's report. I hear them discussing it on another station. Politics gets involved. Context matters. Bureaucratic protocols are not substitutes for lives in peril. When people's lives are in peril, throw away the law. Pick it up later on. You know what Moses did with the commandments? You know the story. He broke them. Commandments were written on tablets, on tablets of stones. And when Moses saw that the people couldn't keep them, he broke it. And from that day till now, we have all been breaking the law. And that's why Jesus came into the world. Don't put the law over people's neck as a noose. Don't use the law as a noose around people's neck. Context matters. When people are stranded, structure is down. No rules can't give nobody. You hear that? Rules build back your country. Action do that. Action do that. And I have a feeling that were the PNP in power, I'll know we don't know internet. I'll know probably we couldn't even have light. All kudos must go to Vaz. Look how quick Jamaicans get back their light and their water and their cable. Miserable situation when you have light in the man. In emergencies, human life and welfare must take precedent or precedence over paperwork. It is important to remember that audit reports, while necessary for accountability, are limited in scope. They focus on procedural compliance, but cannot account for the value of lives saved. Mrs. Monroe Ellis, you never put on any water boot and get out into the field to find out what was happening out there. You will sit in an office and look for paper. Minister Vaz's career is defined not by forms filled or signatures obtained, but by tangible outcomes for Jamaicans, outcomes that are far more consequential than any administrative critique. That is not corruption. That is consequential as far as it relates to the lives and the well-beings of individuals. And so as I close out these notes tonight, I know I was a little lengthy. Vaz exemplifies the type of minister Jamaica needs. We need more Vaz. You hear what the Prime Minister said? He had to call in the Minister of Agriculture and tell him, we have to go faster. To move faster than this man. We need ministers who are proactive, courageous, and responsive. And Mr. Vaz has consistently demonstrated that the purpose of public office is to serve people. Serve the people, Vaz. Give them light, give them water, give them Starlink, give them what you need to give them. Not merely to follow procedures. And let me be clear, while accountability and audits are important, they must never overshadow the context in which decisions are made or the lives that are at stake. Minister Vaz's record deserves recognition and appreciation, not scorn. Let us put our hands together and applaud a minister for his unwavering commitment to putting Jamaica first. I don't want to hear about no audit. What I want to hear is that people's lives were put back together quickly. If that was done, bravo to the minister. Audits can come later on. We don't need no audits right now. Let the government get on with its job of restoring people's lives. Yeah, moderator, I have one more subject to deal with. implication for the municipalities. I don't hear nothing about it. Anyway, finally tonight, I want to speak to a concern I've been hearing everywhere. As a matter of fact, I got a call on this today, on the streets, in the taxis, on social media, and private conversations. And that is the growing belief that Joel and Silvera case feels like a cover-up. I'm not saying it's a cover-up. I'm telling you what people are saying. Let me say this clearly at the outset. Public concerns does not come from imagination. It comes from sequence, silence, and power. And let me repeat that. Public concern does not come from imagination. It comes from sequence, silence, and power. Jamaicans are not foolish, you know. They may be civic illiterate, but they're not fool. And they are not strangers to how influence has worked in this country before. People no fool. Here's what troubles people. Melissa Silvera's death was initially presented as natural causes. As a matter of fact, it appeared on the Facebook page of the leader of the opposition, Mr. Mark Jefferson Golding. That narrative was accepted. It was accepted that Mrs. Silvera died of natural causes. As a matter of fact, her husband was seen at her funeral weeping. The narrative of Mrs. Melissa's death was not only accepted as natural by the public, but by the political leadership of the People's National Party, including the leader of the party, who posted news of her death on his Facebook page. For months, the country operated under that understanding. Then abruptly, the truth emerged. Wounds from guns and a charge of murder. And eventually, a plea of manslaughter. That alone creates a credibility gap. And when a credibility gap exists, people fill them with suspicion. You can't blame the people. It no add up. And you don't have to go study criminal law. You know, Mr. Perkins, Mr. Perkins had a gardener that say he ain't born for machete, born for law. But because his parents then couldn't afford it. That's why he was in Mr. Perkins' garden. Many Jamaicans they ain't born for machete. Just the failure of previous administrations to help them. Born for machete, born for law. The concern is not simply that a manslaughter plea was accepted. Plea bargains exist in every legal system. The concern is who the accused is. That's it. Who is the accused? The accused is a former member of parliament, a politically connected individual, and someone whose initial account shaped public and political responses at the very highest level. That's the problem. So Jamaicans are asking, what was the full truth known from the beginning? If not, why wasn't it? And if it was, who knew? And who stayed silent? These are not radical questions, listeners. They are reasonable questions. Now let's address the political implications for the People's National Party. This case places the party in a deeply uncomfortable position. For Mr. Silveira was not just a member. He was an MP. And his account of events influenced how his party leader and others spoke publicly about his wife's death. Whether intentionally or not, the party repeated a version of events that turned out to be false. That matters. Media in Jamaica is not covering this story well, you know. Because politics is not only about policy, it is about trust. Trust. Can you trust these people? And when a political party appears to have accepted a narrative too easily from its own, especially in a case involving the death of a woman, the damage, thank you, the damage goes beyond one individual. It touches the party's moral authority. Cover me, Lord. For I must tell the people the truth. It touches the moral authority of the party. To be fair, there is no evidence, none, that the party orchestrated or directed a plea deal. Prosecutorial decisions lie with the Director of Public Prosecutions and the courts. That distinction is important and it must be respected. But politics is also about perception. And the perception many Jamaicans now hold is this: if an ordinary citizen were accused under similar circumstances, would the road have unfolded the same way? That's the question that Jamaicans are asking. If it were you or I under the same situation, would the road have unfolded the same way? For justice must not only be done, it must manifestly and undoubtedly be seen to be done. Let me take a break and come back and wrap this up. Let me wrapping up soon.
Listeners, could you please tap the screen and continue to share the live? Also, we're asking you to donate or support our platform via Zelle or Cash App. The information will be posted on the screen.
Thank you, moderator. I think it was Lord Atkin who said that justice is not a cloistered virtue. Justice is not a cloistered virtue. Obscure? Very interesting question. Ordinary citizens are asking, is the law the same for every Jamaican? That question is not an attack on the judiciary. It is a reflection of long-standing unease about power and equality before the law. What the public is demanding is not vengeance. The public is demanding transparency. The public is not demanding mob justice. They are demanding accountability. Not political point scoring, but reassurance that influence does not bend justice. And if the institutions involved believe justice has been served, then the burden is on them to explain clearly, calmly, and fully why this outcome was legally appropriate. I believe Nationwide brought this matter to court for the matter to not be aired without the glare of the media. I don't know what the results of that are. Silence only deepens the doubt. Let us not lose sight of the most important person in this story. The most important person in the story. Melissa Silveria. A woman lost her life. Whatever we do will not bring her back. No plea, no sentence, no political calculation can change that. Justice must be done. But it must not only be done, it must be seen to be done. The people of Jamaica must walk away from this case. They are the jurors feeling that justice was done. Neighbors, democracy depends on trust. And trust, once shaken, demands truth to rebuild it. Now, Let me break down the case. 21 after 9. When the case began in February, he was asked to enter a plea. Instead of a not guilty to murder, he pleaded guilty to manslaughter and to a separate firearm charge. The prosecutors agreed to accept the plea to the lesser charge of manslaughter, which then went to the Chief Justice to accept. And the Chief Justice accepted. Sentencing is now set for March 6. To be a very good student, I want you to note that this manslaughter plea saved the taxpayers a lot of money, because the cost of trials like these are not cheap. For the prosecutor, which is the government, lawyers, to prove the case, not cheap. And it also frees up time for the court. Now, in Jamaica, as in many legal systems across the world, plea negotiations allow defendants to plead guilty to a lesser offense if the prosecutor agrees. Not strange to Jamaica. And this can happen even after an initial not guilty plea. So you can plead not guilty first up, and then you can change your plea to another plea to accept a lesser charge. It is what is called a legal strategy. For prosecutors, securing a guilty plea avoids the risk of a full trial. And I don't want to get into a lot of the technicalities here, because trials can be very complicated, you know. Because if you're not able to prove beyond reasonable doubt, a man can get away, especially when you put it before a jury of his peers. Trials can be very unpredictable, you know, lengthy, and of course, as I said earlier, very, very costly. So it is a legal strategy. Not only a legal strategy, but it's also a defense strategy. The defense might offer a plea to mitigate sentence exposure for the accused rather than face a murder conviction with much harsher penalties. Now, so that's the strategy of the prosecutor and the defense, but then they have to put it before the judge. So when both sides agree on this, the judge must accept the plea, which Brian Sykes did today. He accepted that the plea was legally sound and appropriate before it becomes final. Now, many Jamaicans and observers have expressed concern that the manslaughter feels too light for someone accused of the death of their spouse. And these worries often focus on the severity of the outcome, because murder is seen as the rightful charge for killing a partner, and a reduction suggests lesser responsibility. The perception of justice is also part of what is at play, because the public may feel that pleading down reduces accountability, especially in domestic related deaths. And of course, the matter of transparency, because plea negotiations aren't always fully public, leading to speculation about why the lesser charge was accepted, even when the trial was imminent. These kinds of concerns are common in serious criminal cases globally where plea deals happens. The public often struggles with legal distinctions between murder and manslaughter and feels a plea deal can seem like a soft outcome when life is lost. The legal context, however, matters. There is a difference between murder and manslaughter. Here is it. Murder generally requires proof of intentional unaliving or specific mental state implying malice. So that if you are going to be charged for murder, and there are other, like capital murder, it's a different case completely, because capital murder is, well, let's not confuse you and go there yet, or let's not go there at all. We're not talking about capital murder, which is the above this. So murder, intentionally kill the person, unalivable, intentionally do it. Okay? Manslaughter usually applies where the unaliving was without premeditated intent. In other words, it occurred under circumstances like provocation. Do you note that in the plea, they said that the man was provoked? That's in the law. These are legal terms that are being used. A manslaughter charge can come about where you're provoked and then you snap. In other words, it was not premeditated. It was not intentional. I did not intend to do it. The circumstances made me snap, and I did it. Diminished responsibility or recklessness rather than deliberate extent. If I am driving down the road and you run across the road and I hit you, I did not intend to do it. But I still caused the death of an individual. I did not commit murder. But they will charge me for manslaughter. Do you see the difference, listeners? I hope you do. Murder is intentional. Manslaughter is not. I did not intend to do it. It's without premeditated intent. Now, in Mr. Silvera's plea hearing, his lawyers apparently cited constant provocation. So the case before the judge is that Mrs. Melissa constantly was provoking Mr. Melissa. And that is the legal basis for manslaughter. This doesn't remove culpability, because manslaughter is still a serious, violent charge. But legally, it acknowledges a lesser degree of culpability than murder. It is very important that you understand the law. Now, Okay. Now, in Jamaica, manslaughter, statutory maximum penalty is life imprisonment. However, judicial sentencing guidelines set a normal range of about 3 to 15 years imprisonment for manslaughter, with a usual starting point of around 5 to 7 years. In cases involving provocation and illegal firearm use, the Court of Appeal has recognized that sentences for manslaughter may fall in the 7 to 21 years range, reflecting some facts. And what this means is that the judge has a discretion. And the discretion like provocations, remorse. So when the judge goes to figure out how much years you're going to get, he's going to look at the extent of your provocation. Yeah. Are you remorseful? Very, very sorry. Your early plea of guilt. Those are some of the things that the judge will look at. And if you had any previous convictions, let's say it's your first offense, those things will influence the judge's discretion. A plea of guilty. When you plead guilty early, it often results in a lower sentence than if the case went to the full trial. If you drag out the court's time and the court still find you guilty, you're going to get maximum sentence. Okay, so there is some other things, but it's very, very complicated. I think that we could break that down a little more for you, because there's also the firearm related offense, and that is going to be taken into consideration also. Nonetheless, we continue to follow this, and we will watch it for you and break it down a little bit more for you, maybe tomorrow. That's all the time we have tonight. Let's see if we can play my moderator's music. Thank you so much for let me see if I can get to her music and close it. Fantastic night. Okay. All right. My moderator has sent me some songs. I think we're gonna start play them as we bounce up to 10 o'clock.
Your home or office facing a public school.
All right, let's go with that. Yes, hi.
I think they're both hiding because they cannot beat my playlist.
I think so. Yeah. Oh, you're a classic girl. You know Chronix and Bob Marley, Butcher Banton and Sam Cooke. Oh. Well then, let's bring the curtains down on the show tonight, huh?
I keep asking them to come up and they're not responding.
Okay.
So I think they're hiding.
Yeah. Okay. Great. All right, Caroline. We have to check out on the other end. Thank you so much.
Of course, Neighbor. Have a great night.
Yeah. Take care of yourself. All right, listeners, that's it for us tonight on the Politics Plus podcast. We'll catch you again tomorrow at 7 o'clock, and we hope you will join us then. Take care of yourselves. Have a great night, everybody.